Hi, I'm Solana from Advocates of Sacred, and just like some other storytelling videos that are out here right now, I want to share another creation story with you. I want to share another creation story with you because among all two-legged human people, we have our Genesis stories. We have our beginning stories. And during COVID and the vaccination times, we have what's called crisis. We have what's called compounded crisis. We have different things that make us feel angst or worry or grief. And that's not even including some of the awful things that have happened. That's not including some of the unrest that goes on. Some of the more sad or maddening things. I'm not talking about those things right now. I'm just saying that sometimes going back to your roots, going back to the beginning, going back to your Genesis is important. That when we go back, when we pivot and go back to where we came from inside, go back to our Genesis to see what we're made of, that'll help us. That'll help us through these times. So this time I want to share a Lakota creation story with you called Star People. And so long ago, two sisters were traveling home. They were traveling home from a day of foraging for medicines, foraging for different like sage and sweetgrasses, foraging for different plants as they usually did. Only they stayed out a little bit later this time. They stayed out a little bit later, and so it was becoming dark. It was becoming night, and what happens in the night is that the star people, they come out. We get to see them, and they're walking, and they notice two stars, and the first sister said, "I'd marry that star." And the second sister said, "I would marry that one." And they kept walking, and inside of them, they knew that something was coming. They knew that they usually don't stay out past dark. They knew that usually they don't see the stars as they're getting home. They were coming around the corner, almost to their home, almost to their village. They could see the fire from their village. They were coming around and they saw two men. These two men were approaching them. These two men seemed a little bit different. They didn't seem like other men from their village. They didn't seem like familiar. They didn't have the same moccasins. They didn't have the same regalia on. They didn't have the same outfit. They even spoke a little bit different. They just felt really strong. They had a very strong presence. The moment they saw these two men, they stopped in their tracks. They stopped in their tracks and they knew they wanted to hear what they had to say. They knew that they wanted to hear these two men say, "Thank you. I heard what you said. So we came here to marry you. Thank you for saying you would marry us." So the two sisters, they go away. They go with these star people, these two star people that came down from the sky to marry them because they said they would marry them. And they go up into the star world. They go up into the star beings. They go up, up, up. And they learn so much. Right away they notice all the similarities. Right away they notice all the same things that they got to feel and witness on earth that they're seeing up above. And what's above is below. And it was exactly that. It was exactly that. It felt like what was happening in the star world was going to happen down below. They remember harvesting certain medicines at certain times because the star people, they position themselves a certain way for us like that. The star people, they position themselves a special way according to what's going on with them, according to their protocol, according to their laws, according to what they need to be doing for each other, for the star people. They could feel their family down below, the two sisters, they can feel their family down below. They could feel them wondering where they went. They could feel them not being afraid for what happened to them. They could feel them still loving them. They could feel their connection to their family in their village. They could feel all of that. They could watch over them that way. They could watch over their loved ones that way. You see, we have so many relationships, so many connections to the star people from Mother Earth, these two sisters, they began to make bigger families among the star people. They began to be impregnated. They began to make babies with these star men. With the two star men that they married, they had 5 daughters among them. They had 5 daughters between the two of them. These two sisters taught so many lessons from Mother Earth to these 5 sisters. It's like they brought an essence of Mother Earth to the star people. And being married to star people, they brought an essence into them, into these collaborative relationships, into these 5 sisters. They knew that one of them would have to fall back to earth at some point. They knew that one of them would have to redesign certain things among their village, among their people. They would have to reconnect to the sky being, to the star people. They would have to recalibrate their ways of life so that it was only following the star people, so that it was what above is below, what is below is above. And so the 5 sisters right away began to really listen and really plan. They would listen to the star people, they would listen to their mothers. They would listen to their mothers, they would do what the star people would want them to be doing, and they planned when they were going to return to earth, when they were going to return back to earth and collect not only relationships and parts of relationships and parts of the ways of life that their family was living, but collect different parts of us, our sense of belonging, our sense of knowing, our sense of loyalty, our sense of unity, our sense of protocol. They knew that they needed all these things among the star people as well. And they knew, because of their mother's relationship to their villages, they knew that those people, that the people here on earth needed things from them. They knew that. So they planned it, and right away they knew when they would have to go. They knew that once the thunder beams crashed in the spring, the beginning of springtime, they knew that that was their time. They knew that that was their time, because it was only after a rough winter that the people here on earth would be able to receive new life, would be able to receive them returning back home. And so once again, the 5 sisters emerged. When they emerged back into their village, they emerged as new life. They emerged as new parts of the family, as new beings. And the people of the village, they could feel that these 5 babies were different. They could feel the difference between other babies that had been born. They kind of held these 5 sister babies in a different way. They were treated differently. They were groomed and prepared and practiced with the family differently. They were almost what today we would call cultural teachers. They were almost what today we would call medicine people. They could feel all those energies from those babies, from those 5 babies. They can feel everything. They can feel right away that when they were in the presence of one of those daughters, one of those babies, that they were accepted, that they were related, that they were connected. It's almost like being in the presence of one of those star babies. That's what we're going to call them from the rest of the story. From one of the star babies, that they were stronger, that they were comforted, that they were more loved, that they had a purpose. And so these special star babies, they began to grow older and grow fast. So usually around 6 months or so, babies will begin to crawl, maybe toddle around. These babies were already walking. These babies were growing fast. These star babies were very advanced, very advanced. They began to speak around 1 year or so. They began to take care of themselves by toddlerhood. They began to stand in authority as a young being. And the people of the village, they noticed how they held themselves. They noticed when they stood there that it was really important that these little beings, these special beings, when they wanted to speak, that it meant something. When they wanted to speak, that it was the truth. And so they They practiced what's called discernment. The people, the village, they practiced what's called discernment, what we call discernment today. And so that was showing them that their breath is sacred. That was showing them that what they say must be important. That was showing them in practicing of the truth. That was showing them in practicing that when anyone stands and speaks, it's important to listen. That was showing them the authority of not just the female, but of a human being. The authority that we have with our breath. The way we say means something. And so pretty soon these star girls, these star beings begin to grow older and older and older, and all the lessons and the virtues and the values that they were sharing with the people were so abundant. They were so abundant. The wealth was just growing. The creativity was just growing. So that means our relationships as a people to Mother Earth was getting stronger. Our relationships to each other was getting stronger. Our relationships to the trees, to the medicines, everything was just becoming more strong. Everything was just becoming more solid, more unity for us as a family, as a people, as a human, to our animals, to our artwork, to our language with each other, to how we spoke to each other. It was just, everything just felt so right. Everything just kind of felt more harmonious. These lessons that they brought us was so precious that we paid even more attention to the star beings. We paid even more attention to what's happening in the constellations. We paid even more attention to what's above. We wanted so badly to stay right with them. We wanted so badly to practice those things that made us feel stronger, that made us feel good. And the day came that it was time for them to go back up. The day came that it was time for those 5 sisters, as star babies, to go back up with their moms. The day came that they'd maxed out all these things for us. You see, from the moment they were born here on Earth, it's like they had this time clock, this clock of life, this time period that all the energy, all the love, all the lessons, all the feelings that they caused the village, the people to feel, all the teachings that they gave, they were taking from their source, from their star source inside of them. So that got depleted more and more and more as they grew fast, as they taught more, as they did more for the people, as they made us feel stronger and more connected and more truth. Their energy, their source was getting more and more depleted. So it was time for them to go back up. It was time. It was time. And you see the people, they felt a shift. They felt like a loss or like a grief. And they hadn't felt that before. The people at that time, they knew about death and they knew about loss and they knew how to grieve. But this time it was different. This time it was different because they had so much joy, they had so much love, they had so much connection, they had so much strength that this time when they felt grief, when they felt loss, it was even deeper. It was even deeper. It was so deep that they still wanted to honor the star people. They still wanted to honor them. And so they quickly prepared this memorial. They quickly prepared a way to honor the star people. They quickly designed a way, an art piece, a work of art, a ceremony, all these ways that we honor the star people like that. They quickly designed all of that and they were gone. The 5 star babies, the sisters, they were gone back up. They were gone back up into the star world with their 2 moms. And that constellation of the 7 stars, what we call the 7 sisters, is still there today. And I hope that when we go outside at night and we find that constellation, it resembles the Big Dipper, that we honor them for what they taught us, or we at least acknowledge that something special happened at some point, that some mystical, resourceful, energetic beings came at some point and showed us how to love, showed us how to be stronger, showed us how to connect deeper, showed us the truth, and allowed us to feel all that light, allowed us to practice and employ a deeper relationship to ourselves and to each other, allowed us to know that what's above is below, allowed us to create even more. And that is all.